So joining me now is Bernie Kerik, former NYPD commissioner. Bernie, so the chief there is referring to a law the city council passed banning the use of tear gas and pepper spray. This puts officers in a pretty dangerous situation. So my question to you, can police officers even do their jobs right now in the country, and particularly cities like Seattle?
Well, listen, whether it's Seattle, Chicago, Portland, or anywhere else, any of these cities run by Democrats these days, it's extremely difficult for them to do their jobs because they don't have the backing, the support, the resources they need to do the job, the equipment they need to do the job. And I want to touch on one thing, Lisa, when you were talking to Secretary Cuccinelli. Everybody's talking about stormtroopers and the paramilitary and the military, like Jay Johnson said, we can't have these in our cities. The only thing that's different about those people that's out there making the arrest is their uniform. They're wearing tactical uniforms. They're wearing tactical uniforms because they can't be out there in dress blues because they're getting feces and urine thrown at them and Molotov cocktails and all kind of, bombardment from these lunatics. They're not going to wear dress blues and whites. They have to be in tactical uniforms, and that's the uniforms they're wearing. This isn't about a military operation.
Well, why do you think that narrative is out there then? I mean, you just disputed some of the attacks that are going on from the left and the media. Why are we seeing that from them?
Well, the narrative's out there because these radical leftist Marxist politicians, they need to jazz up the lunatics in the field. They want them they want to incite them. They want to instigate them. And the only way to do that is basically saying, this is a military, attack on our city. This is a military attack on our people. And therefore you have to get out and fight. And I will say, I'm going to tell you, as Cuccinelli said, the federal government's charged with protecting the courthouse and the federal buildings. Those politicians, the mayor, the governor of Portland, Seattle, and these other places, they took an oath. They took a constitutional oath of office to enforce the laws and the Constitution of the federal Constitution, the U.S. Constitution, and their state laws.
Well, why aren't
they doing it? That's exactly right. Why aren't they doing it? And there has to be some way to hold them accountable. Whether it's a civil rights issue, can the FBI come in and look at the civil rights issues? Why aren't they protecting the citizens of Portland? Well, they're obligated by law.
Well, and what's the impact on all of this? I mean, we've looked at, as you pointed out, some of the terminology, the way that we're seeing the left speak about federal police officers. We've seen, local police officers also be on the receiving end of just vitriol, violence as well. Look, you're a former NYPD commissioner. You're talking to police officers on the ground all the time. What's the impact been on them?
They're completely demoralized. Whether it's New York City, Seattle, Portland, I talk to New York City cops every day. They're completely demoralized. And the only real comfort they have is the president's support. That's it. This Operation Legend, right away, Nancy Pelosi, who sounds like a kook when she's talking these days, she's basically talking about these stormtroopers. The reality is we have federal agents in New York City, in an FBI Joint Terrorist Task Force, a DEA task force that consists of New York City detectives, state police, federal agents. When I was a cop, a detective, I was in the DEA task force. We already have tons of federal agents in our cities. All the president wants to do is enhance those numbers, go into the communities, go after gangs, guns, and drugs. That's what has to happen.
Will it be effective?
Yes, it'll be effective because you're going to charge them federally. No turnstile justice. You're not going to let some state prosecutor let them go. You're going to charge them federally. The U.S. attorneys are going to prosecute them. They're going to get mandatory minimums, and they're going to go to prison for a long time.
Interesting. Bernie, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.